So we want to practice a little bit with our trig ratios. And so we have three problems here. There are three right triangles. And in this case, we have, we'll find side A, side B, and side C, each one being a different side with maybe a different location of the angle. Let's take a look at our first angle here. We see it's going to be 72 degrees. And what happens for our first angle, we're going to identify here, this is the leg adjacent to the side as well. And here we have our hypotenuse. Therefore, if we have a leg adjacent hypotenuse, we're going to be using the cosine ratio, which is leg adjacent over hypotenuse. And the equation we're going to create will be the cosine of 72 degrees is equal to A, the unknown, over 14. So now to solve for A, we're going to cross multiply. We get A is equal to 14 times cosine of 72 degrees. We're going to take our calculator. Please make sure you are in degree mode. Degree mode here. And so now we'll type in the calculator 14 cosine of 72. And we'll get, in this case, the value of A is equal to our nearest tenths. Make sure that we have nearest tenths is going to be one decimal place. Our nearest tenths will be, in this case, 4.3, because we have 4.32, we round down to 4.3. For our second problem here, for B, here is our angle of 31 degrees, and this is the leg opposite over the leg adjacent. So leg opposite over adjacent tells us that we're going to use a tangent ratio, and therefore in this case, tangent is the leg opposite over leg adjacent. And so the tan of 31 degrees is equal to B over 5. And tan of 31 over 1, we're going to cross multiply here to get B equals 5 tan 31 degrees. You'll notice in this case that I put the numerical value, the number, in front of the trig ratio because I don't want to mistakenly think that I'm going to multiply the 5 with the 31 degrees. The 31 degrees is input into the function of tan. It's not that I'm multiplying by 31, tan is being multiplied by 31, 31 is being input to the function. And therefore, I'm going to take the function of tan 31 and then multiply by 5. And if I get this, again, type the calculator, 5 tan of 31 degrees, we get, in this case, 3.00, which is 3.0. And then finally, for the third problem here, we're going to be looking for the measure of C. Here we have 63 degrees, and here's 19 and C. We see in this case, this is the leg opposite because opposite of the angle, and of course the hypotenuse. That will be the sine ratio, and the sine ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. So we are going to see in this case that we're going to do the sine of 63 is equal to, in this case, 19 over C. 19 over C. We're not always going to be finding the variable on top. It all depends upon the location of the angle and, of course, what sides we have. Now we're going to cross multiply, and we get C, sine of 63 degrees, equals 19. And sine of 63 and tan of 31 and cosine of 72, they are going to be numbers that we can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So we can actually divide both sides by the sine of 63. And on your calculator, you will type in 19 divided by sine of 63. And we'll get, in this case, the C value to be 21.3. 21.3. In general, when trying to find measures using trigonometry, we follow the following rules. The sine, cosine, tangent ratios, all of the angles of right angles have to be calculated. So determine which ratio we're using based upon the angle we have. So like we did, we found out the angle, we found out what sides we had, and based upon that we said, okay, we're going to use a particular ratio. In this case, sine, cosine, or tangent. We set our equation based upon this ratio, and then of course we solve for the missing side or angles. Now I say side or angles because sometimes we'll be looking for angle measures. And when we do that, we'll be using our sine -1, cosine -1, tan -1. And so let's take a look at our next set of problems. Says find the measured angles to the nearest 10th degree. And again, we're going to be basing everything upon the same thing. What is the ratio we're going to use based on where the angle is and what sides we have? Let's take a look at our first problem here. Our first problem all the way to the left. We see here that here our angle is theta, and theta's here. And so here, the rate, we have the leg opposite, and of course the hypotenuse. Leg opposite and the hypotenuse. Therefore, we are using the sine ratio. So the sine of theta is equal to here 8 over 14. Unlike other problems where we were looking for the sides, we would type in the angle measure. We're looking for the angle now. And whenever we look for the angle, we're using what's called the inverse function, or this inverse of sine, inverse of cosine, inverse of tan. You would find that function right above the sine, cosine, tan ratio. It'll be sine to -1, cosine to -1, tan to -1. The inverse of those functions. And so we would do the following. Theta is equal to sine -1 of 8 over 14. And you'll type into this the calculator just like this. So second sine, so sine -1, 8 divided by 14, close parenthesis. Enter, and you should get theta is equal to 34.8 degrees. Now, in case you're not sure, you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not sure about this, Mr. Gong, I'm not sure what to do here. Let's take a look and see if we can grab a calculator. Let's see if I can grab a calculator here. Maybe. Oops. You know what? Let's see. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I should have had this all prepped already for us. So let's see. Oh, here TI tools. Smart view. Okay. And we're going to type in the same exact thing from before. For Smart View, we're going to do our 10 here. And so we see in this case, we had the sine -1. Now, again, what I mean by we have to be in degree mode, the default setting for almost all calculators, at least for the Texas Instruments one, calculators will be in radians. So go to the mode. The mode is found here, right next to the blue button. And they'll tell you here all the possible things we have. Notice that on the third row here, on the third one after the blinking cursor, we see that radian is highlighted. We want to get to degree. We'll get to degree. So we're going to, in this case, move the cursor down to the third row, and then over to the right where the cursor is highlighted over degree. Please hit enter. And now we're in the correct mode of degree mode. So we're going to hit second mode or second quit. And now we'll do sine -1. That will be the blue button, second, sine. And now we have sine -1. Our ratio was 8 divided by 14. Well, no need to simplify. That's a great thing about this. Just type in the sides as they are. 8 divided by 14. Close parenthesis and enter. And notice we got 34.84999. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, don't we round off? Well, we're right to the nearest 10th. We only look at the hundredths place and nothing else. And even though it's very, very close to being, 0.5 or 0.85 actually, we are not going to round up to 0.9. Here, we only look at the 4 here, and since it's not 5 or greater, we leave it as 34.8. Okay. So, let's continue to our next problem here. We have here our angle measure, and we have our leg opposite and our leg adjacent. Okay, hypotenuse is not being involved in this problem. Therefore, we're using the tan of theta is equal to 9 over 3. So at its time, ladies and gentlemen, let's write our equation. Angle measure is trying to be found. Theta is equal to tan -1 of 9 divided by 3. Second tan. Second, oops, sorry. Second tan 9 divided by 3. Close parenthesis. Second 10, 10 negative 1, 9 divided by 3. We hit enter. And we find in this case 71.56, round to nearest tenth. Here, the hundredths place will be rounding upwards, so it'll be 71.6 degrees. 71.6 degrees. Our third problem here, has our angle theta here. Now I'm going to give you a chance to decide which ratio. Okay, so we see here is our leg adjacent and our hypotenuse. And we know, involving the leg adjacent hypotenuse, the ratio we're going to use would be cosine. Cosine of theta is equal to, now the leg adjacent is 5 over 22. Therefore, theta is equal to cosine negative 1 of 5 divided by 22. Cosine negative 1 of 5 divided by 22. We're going to use our calculator now. Second, cosine 5 divided by 22. And second cosine 5 divided by 22. And we're going to enter. We get, in this case, 76.86, which means the 6 means we're rounding up to 76.9. 76.9. Now, if you are getting answers that are slightly different, please check to make sure you are creating the correct ratios. You might have the right ratio, the right sine, cosine, tangent function you're using, but you might have the ratio written in the wrong order. Check to make sure you're in degree mode, not radian mode. These are very common errors that students make when solving trig problems in the beginning. Hopefully in this case, by the time that the Regents runs around, if we have it, we will be totally good with this. Okay? Any questions?